Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai, Shri Nectar of Devotion ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Responsively, let's chant the prayers to the six Goswamis. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vanderupa Sanatana Raghu Yugo Shri Jiva Gopala Go. Read loud and clear, Shah.
For my respectful obeisances Goswami, namely Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter on, because they are absorbed in the mood of gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and
Jai, thank you very much. So here we see that they Sadharma. So Srila Rupa Goswami is trying to propagate in this entire book Sadharma, right? And here we embark on chapter 9, further considerations of devotional principles. So today we shall cover chapter 9 and the short chapter, chapter 10, that follows. So, when I was starting to do the slides, I was thinking most of the things that are contained in chapter 9 is already what was said when I last gave class. So, I was feeling a little overconfident that you would have understood what I told you in that previous class. I'm sure you all do remember everything and understand it thoroughly. However, when I was considering skipping the repetitive nature of the subject here in chapter 9, I considered that if Srila Prabhupada took the time to repeat it in detail again, who am I to consider that I should skip it? He took all of the time to repackage it in very much the same style that he did in the previous class. But sometimes when things are repeated in scripture, it's for emphasis. Normally, in Sanskrit compositions, repetition is considered an error. But when the acharyas do that in scripture, then it's for our benefit. So here, the subject of blasphemy of devotees begins this chapter. And I was thinking, we did this so conclusively, but obviously the nature of the mind in Kali Yuga is forgetfulness. Manda samanda matayo manda bhagya upadritaha. That we are short-lived, misguided, unintelligent, and we unfortunate in this age. So regarding blasphemy, this quotation is there that one should not tolerate blasphemy of the Lord or his devotees. In this connection, in the 10th canto, 74 chapter, verse 40 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj, "My dear king, if a person, after hearing blasphemous propaganda against the Lord and his devotees, does not go away from that place, he becomes bereft of the effect of all pious activities." So we had chapter upon chapter clearly broadcasting to us how to increase our piety. And it's also in this chapter by circumambulating the temple, taking Chanamrita, hearing and chanting, worshipping Tulsi Devi, etc., etc., etc. All of that endeavor becomes null and void. The spiritual account becomes frozen when one entertains blasphemy. So simply by hearing blasphemy, one becomes implicated. So this is such a sinister offense that it has such a large impact that lifetimes and lifetimes of pious credits can thus become frozen in an instant if one gives attention to blasphemy of devotees. Why is this so? What is blasphemy? We shall find out just now. So, three ways to deal with blasphemy. So, Prabhupada continues writing in the Nectar of Devotion just after in this section. If someone is heard blaspheming by words, one should be so expert that he can defeat the opposing party by argument. So, one should be sufficiently equipped to immediately nip the ignorance in the bud, so to speak. That if someone is embarking on a path of darkness, entertaining blasphemy, one should be able, with tact, to reverse that consciousness, to illuminate that darkness of ignorance. However, if one is not thus qualified, if he is unable to defeat the opposing party, then the next step is that he should not just stand there meekly, but should give up his life. Now, this is a very heavy thing that, if you can't defeat the blasphemer, then you have to give up your life. So there's a saying, I think it's a Bengali saying, that when there's no recourse, drink hot ghee and walk north, proceed north. When a dead body is being taken out of the house, it's in the direction north, right? So in other words, you might as well give up your life. So that's how sinister this entertainment of blasphemy of a devotee is. The third process is followed if he is unable to execute the above mentioned two processes. And this is that one must leave the place and go away. Maybe the easier way out. Nowadays, social media can be the seat of blasphemy. So, you scroll past or you unfriend or snooze the person for 30 days, different options are there. But what happens is that if it already enters the consciousness, one must be sufficiently equipped to wash it out. How? By adding glorification of the person that was blasphemed. So Prabhupada writes over there about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that when he heard that Lord Nityananda was blasphemed verbally and he was struck physically by Jagai and Madai and he was bleeding, he immediately appeared on the spot to protect Lord Nityananda. So the Lord takes this action of harming a devotee so seriously that he will personally intervene if need be. So those are three ways to deal with blasphemy. The first one is that you defeat the person expertly. If you can't, then you give up your body or you leave the place. In other places, it's explained that one should cut off the tongue of the blasphemer, or cut off your tongue, something like that, right? But it's also there in scripture. Very, very serious. So if a devotee does not follow any of the above mentioned three processes, he falls down from his position of devotion. So when the account is frozen, Maya will cover and kick a person. And thereby, one becomes immersed in the darkness of existence, and one falls lower and lower and lower until one receives the mercy of a Vaishnava who can adequately help one to rectify such an heinous act. Further in the purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 10th chapter, text number 25, Srila Prabhupada quotes from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya 22. One who blasphemes a devotee cannot be protected by anyone. Even if a person is as strong as Lord Shiva, if he blasphemes a devotee, he is sure to be destroyed. This is the verdict of all Shastras. If one does not care for the verdict of Shastras and dares blaspheme a Vaishnava, he suffers life after life because of this. So last time I gave a class, we were speaking about Gopal, right? When he put all of the Durga worshipping paraphernalia outside Srivas Angam, where Lord Chaitanya used to have his nocturnal kirtans, and he tried to taint the reputation of this illustrious devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srivas, then what happened to him? Immediately he got leprosy and his nose started to fall off, etc. So in many cases, people who blaspheme the devotees may end up with something like that. Then in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is also stated that when one blasphemes a devotee, a preacher of the Lord, etc., one loses one's child, one's wealth, one's good fortune. There's a verse that says that, right? So one should not partake in Vaishnava aparadha at all, either hearing, engaging in words, or in a physical way. Then here Prabhupada is saying, even if the person is as strong as Lord Shiva, how strong is Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva's dedication as a Vaishnava, last week Nishingananda Prabhu was saying, Vaishnava yata Shambhu. He's the topmost of devotees or Vaishnavas of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And how is his devotion? His devotion is compared to that of a bumblebee. That a bumblebee is a friend of the lotus, and the lotus is a friend of daylight. In daylight, it opens, there's nectar in the whirl of the lotus, and the bumblebee goes. The king of bumblebees will enter that lotus to get that nectar with such lolium or greed that knowing that that lotus, as soon as the sun sets, is going to close. He's willing to give up his life, right, for that nectar. So Lord Shiva is glorified in one of, I think it's 8 verses that was composed by one of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's contemporaries. One time Lord Chaitanya went to this temple of Lord Shiva, and this devotee started to recite these prayers, Shri Rama Govinda Mukunda Sore, Shri Krishna Narayana Vasudeva. So when he was reciting these verses in glorification of Lord Shiva, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started to dance in ecstasy. So Lord Shiva's position is one of undoubtedly the topmost servant of the Lord. Even if one considers oneself equal to Lord Shiva in devotion and steadfastness, if one risks hearing blasphemy or committing blasphemy, one can fall down. As per the Skanda Purana, Vaishnava aparadha includes the following: killing a devotee. Now you may say, but I may kill a devotee and then I circumambulate Tulsi Devi. And then the Yani Kani Chapapani says what? You can be redeemed of the offense of even killing a Brahmana. Now, who is a Brahmana? A Brahmana is that person who is learned enough to lead society out of darkness into enlightenment. So if you kill a Vaishya or a Sudra, they can be easily replaced. But a Brahmana, a Vaishnava Brahmana especially, who is a walking Bhagavat, if you kill such a person, how long will it take to replace such a character in society? So killing a devotee, now sometimes the history has shown people may slay a devotee, may get together in the guise of devotees and may arrange the killing or the murder of a devotee, and on an auspicious day saying that that soul will be liberated, and we will be scot-free because we arranged his liberation. No, it does not work like that, because that haunts you. That offense of killing a devotee is so bad that you can't become redeemed by falsely trying to pacify yourself that you did the person a favor. So killing a devotee is that bad. Now, who's a devotee? Hmm? One who chants one round, that's one answer. Anyone who chants Hare Krishna even once. One who worships Krishna. One who makes others chant. One who reads Srila Prabhupada's books. I would say, based on the statement that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made, that one should offer respects to all, one should be ready to offer respects to all, every living entity. Why? Because every living entity is a jivatma. Every jivatma is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who in their original state is a pure devotee, but having come into contact with the material energy may now be suffering in the body of a giraffe, a tree, an ant, a cockroach, a mosquito, or whatever. So one should be very careful about killing, right? That's why the principle of ahimsa is there. In the case of Arjuna, Arjuna killed people that were against Dharma under the sanction of Krishna. And the example is given that just as if you join the army and you go and you do some killing, you may get a medal or few medals for that. If you come home and with the same weapons you kill your neighbor, you'll be sentenced, Srila Prabhupada explains. That's because the authorization of killing in the army is different to you using your fickle independence to act independently of authority. So blasphemy of a devotee, killing a devotee, blasphemy of a devotee, enviousness towards devotees. Srila Rupa Goswami has written in other places about this blasphemy of a devotee. You should not laugh also at a person who's mad. You should not laugh at others. He has taught in other writings of his. One should not blaspheme a devotee for poor birth, low-class birth, for a deformed body, etc. Enviousness towards devotees. Who can tell me what they understand by the word envy? What's your definition of envy? Wanting something that somebody else has, feeling jealous of something that someone else has, trying to pull them down. Do you remember the story of the crabs? Okay, I'll tell it for the benefit of the others. See, crabs, when they're caught, the person who's catching crabs will catch them and put them into a basket. And then he'll carry them on his head and walk peacefully to his destination. Why? Because he understands the nature of crabs, that they are so envious by nature that as soon as one is almost reaching the top of the rim to escape the basket of its confinement, the others will pull him down. So that kind of mentality never allows liberation from the pangs of material misery. Enviousness towards devotees. Failing to offer obeisances to the Vaishnavas upon seeing them. Fortunately for us, when we spent many years of our life in ashram or monastic practices of Krishna consciousness within ashrams, this was a standard thing. As soon as you saw a devotee first thing in the morning, you'd pay your obeisances, and the next one will come, and the next one will come, and you keep bowing down. And I remember that even up until Mulders when the three brothers here used to come to Mulders, they were the only devotees that would go pay full dandavats to all the devotees, at the beginning of the Sunday program. And I can say it didn't do him any harm, but a world of good. So this thing about seeing a devotees is very scientific. It is also mentioned elsewhere that if one fails to feel joy at seeing a Vaishnava, that is also an offense. Right? So that's why you say, Jai Prabhu, you offer your obeisances, you acknowledge the devotee. Actually, there are so many pastimes. There's Roma Harshana Sutta, who didn't offer respects to Balaram and met his end in an inglorious way. Then there is Minikiten Ramdas, who entered a temple, and the priest, I forget the priest's name, but the priest who was conducting the worship neglected to offer respects to the devotee Minikiten Ramdas in Chaitanya Leela. And it was an offense. It was considered to be an offense. Vaishnava, becoming angry with the Vaishnava, and lastly but not least, not becoming joyful upon seeing a Vaishnava. So becoming angry with a Vaishnava is to be understood to be the instrument of the Lord. They can sometimes also be the instrument of our karma. So the best thing is that Srila Prabhupada taught, do not be defensive. If someone wants to accuse you of anything, your business is to be tolerant, not to fight back. Because to fight back, to be defensive, Prabhupada said, is an animalistic propensity. So if you tolerate somebody else's such behavior towards you, there are verses in the scripture which give praman or substantiation, saying that when people behave like that, they take on your negative qualities if you don't retaliate. Be my guest. Go ahead. Say more. Go ahead. You're helping me reduce my bad karma. You're taking on my bad qualities. If you glorify a devotee, you take on their good qualities. That's why every morning, as members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I remember that there was actually a GBC resolution that everyone should worship Srila Prabhupada every day, right, in Guru Puja. I hope everyone's doing that, but that was like so prominent, that should happen. Yes, Prabhu.
The last point,
No.
so generally, I would respect Vaishnava beginning until I have some kind of relationship with them very late and enjoy.
Yeah.
But the beginning just really respect. So that's still okay.
That's okay, because we just came out of Nectar of Instruction, and there it's explained that when you see a new devotee, kanista, neophyte devotee, then not that we should now go and categorize people, but sometimes a person may not have such an impact on our being. So you can offer mental respects to the person. And as the relationship deepens and the appreciation of that and the Vaishnav increases, then it goes to physical obeisances, etc. So different ways to show joy. Now, however, like it is repeatedly said in these classes, all of these things are for us, not for us to judge others. A devotee's quality in the 26 qualities of a Vaishnav, One of the qualities is a devotee is very grave. So if you see a devotee whose face is grave upon seeing you, don't now think that that devotee is not happy upon seeing me. That's imposing superficially our limitations upon the next person. For example, one devotee bravely asked Srila Prabhupada. You may have all seen Srila Prabhupada's American the passport or visa picture when he was going to America. It's quite widely circulated. Otherwise, you can Google it. Srila Prabhupada is not really smiling in the picture. He looks pretty grave. So a devotee bravely asked Srila Prabhupada why he looks so sullen, sad in this picture. Srila Prabhupada's reply was, that was the most blissful moment in my life. Because now, why? It's his first step to fulfilling Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. But by our limitations, if we see, oh, his face is not smiling, maybe he's scared, maybe he's having second thoughts about coming to the West and saving us, it's our inhibition, right, to our progress and appreciation of Prabhupada. So we have to be careful. Use all of this for our own introspection. Hitting a devotee, killing a devotee, no hitting also of a devotee. So you don't enter into fist fights with devotees. That is very, very bad, because the body of a devotee is very dear to Lord Krishna. It's explained in many prayers by our acharyas that the Vaishnavas are like the saffron dust particles upon the effulgent lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, question.
We can also add,
Yes.
not speaking harshly to devotees, and respect them.
Yes.
And honor them, so no speaking harsh words.
Don't speak harshly to devotees, like in that first picture. Why should one not speak harshly to a devotee? Because there's always a better way to do things. And as a Vaishnava, you yourself should not be too eager to cause pain to another. You may have all heard in childhood, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. When you become a Vaishnava, it's the other way around. The words, your heart becomes softened and it becomes hurt so badly. I heard one of my spiritual mentors giving a lecture once, and he was explaining this topic long time ago. I was sitting in a class in Vrindavan, and he explained this so nicely. He said the risk of Vaishnav aparadha, when you affect the heart of a Vaishnav negatively, is like taking a clay pot and cracking it. And then once it's cracked, you try to mend it, the crack remains visible. So even though the Vaishnav is merciful and may forgive you, that impression is still around, you know. So one has to be very careful. Any other contribution to this subject? Online? No. So these are Srila Prabhupada's words in his letters regarding blasphemy. Mend it, don't break it. Prabhupada writes to Hamsadutta in 1974, September 29. Try to settle up amicably and correct yourself. One man is trained up with great difficulty, especially in spiritual life. Everyone has got some weakness and deficiency. It is better to correct or mend it than to break it. How often we see that as Kali Yuga progresses, someone will be cast out of a group of Vaishnavas. We can ban a person, we can excommunicate a person, so many things. But here Prabhupada, he is saying, one man is trained up with great difficulty. Satsvarup Maharaj wrote an article once in the Back to Godhead, an old Back to Godhead magazine, and it made a lasting impact on me after reading this article. He said it was the big headlines on the Back to Godhead cover was the fall down of a devotee. And he went on to write in that article that a person, when a Vaishnav displays some deficiency or some weakness or some lack of education, and we try to push that devotee away, then that is a trained soldier in our battlefield. We all have the common goal. We all have the common goal of fighting Maya in this vast arena of the material world. One soldier, Prabhupada says, is trained with great difficulty. Prabhupada said in other places, you have to give gallons of blood to make one person into a Vaishnava. I mean, I can tell you that, to cultivate people as devotees takes a lot from you. We have been involved in this for several years, and sometimes you have to tolerate many things. I remember one time someone called us in the early hours of the morning before Mangal Arati and said his wife saw some gruesome face in the mirror, and they traumatized by it. And next thing I knew, Sringananda Prabhu was driving me to that house in the before Mangal Arati, to go and preach to their family. So many things can happen when you're trying to cultivate people, so many things. You have to be able to tolerate it. And Prabhupada said it's like giving medicine to a horse. Do you know how difficult it is to give medicine to a horse? You need two people to hold the hind legs, two people to hold the forelegs, two people to hold the jaws open, and finally one person to stick the medicine in the mouth. And still the horse will, especially medicines that are bitter, like parasite medication, they will spit it out, and you got to be expert somehow. Like when we would give the cows try to deworm the cows. It was such an endeavor because, they would be able to sniff the bitterness of the medication. So it's a very difficult thing to make a person into a devotee. What to speak of the fact that it would have taken lifetimes for the person to finally make it to the arena of Vaishnavism, and for us to be the person to push that devotee away is not a very sobering or nice thing for ourselves. So Prabhupada is saying everyone has got some weakness and deficiency. In other places, he said this, we're all in a hospital. We're all in the shower. So in the mad hospital, when someone is admitted and you ask them a doctor went to a mad hospital once, and someone asked him, who are you? So he said, I'm the doctor. The patient said, we all start off like that. So it's like, we're living in a mad society. We all are here with the bad disease of the Ishwar above. We're all thinking we're controllers. So now we're here, and then it's easier to see the dirt on someone else's cheek, Prabhupada explains. He said it's easier to see a black spot on a white wall rather than all of the white, or the marks on the moon rather than the effulgence of the moon. So many analogies are there, right? It's so easy to see these things on others. But Prabhupada is saying everyone has got some deficiency. Everyone has got some weakness. No one is above it all, right? We all are there to help each other. So we shouldn't be like the crabs that try to pull each other down. He says we should try to settle it amicably and correct ourselves. So when it takes two hands to clap, when there's a problem or a discontentment between two people, it is actually the fault of two people, somehow or the other. Even if one's fault is 1% and the other one is 99%, the 1% is still a deficiency. So he says, set up amicably and correct oneself. So look first for the fault in oneself also. Then Prabhupada wrote to Bhavananda in October 28, 1970. He says, now this was way before some of us were born even, right? Regarding some misbehavior, we have to check by training peacefully. Your attitude of tolerance and kindness is very nice, so train them in this way. So Prabhupada was more for compassion. To train a person properly, you get a person and you look after them very nicely and train them. So we all know, we've heard before, that Srila Prabhupada's strategy was one of ultimate kindness in feeding them, in making sure they were well situated, in the affection and care that he gave to them. I was listening to a lecture during the course of this week. I forget who was speaking, but he was explaining how, I think it was one of the Prabhupada memories, and this devotee was explaining that when a child cried in the very early days, when a child would disturb the class by crying, then the mother would pick up the child and walk out, and then all the women would walk out. Right? I don't know, maybe because all the women were responsible for keeping the children quiet in those days or something to that effect. I'm not sure exactly. But in that instant that this devotee was recounting, he said Srila Prabhupada was so kind to the women and children that even though that happened, when he saw that the one time happen, he also witnessed that after Prabhupada gave the lecture, Prabhupada called for the women and children first, and he gave them each a cookie with his own hand, right? It's like he was so much into training people peacefully that even when Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked him, Prabhupada, isn't there a limit where, you say, okay, this person has crossed the line, like overdone, in a sort of overdone way. Prabhupada said, there's no limit to Lord Nityananda's mercy. And we're all meant to be Prabhupada, and as Prabhupada followers, we're meant to all be representing the lineage of Lord Nityananda. And who's that Lord Nityananda? He's that person who saved the Jagais and Madhais, whose deficiencies and weaknesses may have been, to a great degree. Kindly observe the regular principles, chanting 16 rounds regularly, and see that all your other assistants are doing the same. If someone is lacking, try to induce them peacefully. So if there's ever a problem, one time Prabhupada told the devotees that if everyone attends Guru Puja every morning, there won't be any discord amongst the devotees. Why? During Guru Puja, there's that loving exchange. You got to take the ghee lamp to each person with a smile on your face. You got to take the flower to each person with the ghee, with a smile on your face, the chandan, etc., the water, sprinkle on the head. So he said that everyone should be chanting 16 rounds regularly. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj recounts that in his training under Srila Prabhupada in Juhu project in Mumbai, in the early days, then Srila Prabhupada, they made him the temple president. So in a budding society like that, and any society, any temple atmosphere, there's bound to be problems. So on Sundays, Prabhupada had them chant for 12 hours instead of a 24-hour kirtan. So in the 12-hour chanting shift, Prabhupada wanted all the devotees to attend. The cooks must cook and then they must attend. And then His Holiness Giriraj Swami says that undoubtedly devotees would come with problems up until Saturday night to him. And he would tell them, he would listen to them with empathy, and then he would tell them, can we discuss this further on Monday, early Monday morning? Because he was thinking they will attend the 12-hour kirtan, because all devotees had to attend, and he had it with the understanding that the potency of that 12-hour chanting would pacify their hearts of any discord that they were going through. So even if there was conflict between two devotees, it would be resolved. And he said on Monday mornings, he would wait in his office, and more often than not, there was no problems to take, that needed to be dealt with, because the holy name would have solved the problem. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada, he had the same steadfast faith, Eke Ha Kuranandana, that the 16 rounds had to be chanted, because if the 16 rounds are chanted, then problems will be solved. I know when I was living at the Sri Sri Radhanath temple in Durban, um, for the few years before I relocated to Johannesburg, then we had three different temple presidents. There was Parthasarati Maharaj and Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, who were brahmacharis at that time, and they at one time were trying to do a partnership temple president, and then His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj came, and he was the temple president. And I clearly remember that all three of them would ask any devotee who went up with any problem to them, the first thing, with a lot of compassion, they'd ask, you finished your rounds for today? And the devotee may say yes or no. And they say, and yesterday? And the last few days, you okay with your rounds? And then, everything else came. But the foundation for understanding the answers that they were going to give or solving the problem on your own would be, like Prabhupada is saying here, that your 16 rounds have to be chanted and the regulative principles followed. So that was a letter to by Srila Prabhupada to Upendra, August 18, 1970. Then, a devotee who is humble doesn't fault find. So in our letter, you are not fault finding with anyone. So you are a good Vaishnava. So why is Prabhupada framing the sentence like that? A devotee who is humble means that he considers himself lower than a blade of grass. That means everyone else is more qualified than me. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exemplified, I am the ocean of faults. So everybody else may have faults, but surely for me to see the fault in others, it's also contained within a percentage in my own self. Like Duryodhana and Yudhishthir Maharaj when they were sent out to look for the honest person in the world, Duryodhana came back and said, there's no honest person. Yudhishthir Maharaj said, everyone is honest, only I'm dishonest, right? Because they saw through their the vision that was tainting they saw through the quality, through the quality that was tainting their vision. Do not find fault with anyone. This is the qualification. We should always think ourselves humble and meek. This you must know. So we have to cooperate amongst ourselves. Otherwise, what will people think if we ourselves fight with one another? A devotee is always ideal in behavior. What comes to mind at reading this is the comic of the story that Srila Prabhupada himself gave of a dying man whose sons were pulling at his various limbs, in the act of massaging his body to give him his last minute comfort on his deathbed. They're all pulling, and this was causing increased pain as opposed to relief for his suffering at that moment. So Prabhupada is saying, what would happen if we fight amidst ourselves? There's an anecdote of a Buddhist temple, two Buddhist temples in the same city, and they were thinking, why is no one joining this temple? Why is everyone joining the other temple? And on introspection, they found out that in the temple that was remaining empty, people fought amidst themselves, and a lot of negativity was in the ethos. But in the other one, where everyone saw with loving exchange, where there was a lot of loving exchanges between everyone, there was some flourishing there. On the other hand, we shouldn't be blind followers, because there is something called constructive criticism. It's not that now everything we see has to be rosy. Undoubtedly, we would come across, because it's in the material world, we will come across certain atrocities that are being practiced maybe by leading members of the society, etc. Because Prabhupada himself said so many things about this, right? So, however, when we look at the large picture, Prabhupada didn't want us to fight amidst ourselves. He said, talk amidst yourself and sort these things out. So instead of, when we recognize that there's an issue in the society, the right thing to do is to go up, not down. So go with the problem, not to anyone below the problem, but go to someone who can positively affect the situation higher. If you take the problem to the lower members of the society, that's political. Rather, we take it higher and have it solved. So in that way, there's no public fighting, etc. Then, how nice it would be if everyone read the Nectar of Devotion. We'd live in a very nice society. Tilak and neck beads. So so many things we know about tilak and neck beads. Tell me offhanded what you remember just at hearing tilak and neck beads. Go for it, Ashna. Okay. Very good. Yamadutas won't touch you. Anything else? Sacred. In the Padma Purana, there's a statement describing how a Vaishnava should decorate his body with tilak and beads. Person who put tulsi beads on the neck, who mark 12 places of the body as a Vishnu temples and with Vishnu's symbolic representations, the 4 items held in the 4 hands of Lord Vishnu, conch, mace, disc, and lotus, and who have Vishnu tilak on their foreheads, are to be understood as devotees of the Lord in this world. Their presence makes the world purified. And anyway they remain, they make that place as good as Vaikuntha. So I remember watching an interview of George Harrison. When he left his body, then a lot of devotees were showing clips of George Harrison. And at one point in time in George Harrison's life, he cut his hair short and he put tilak and kuntimala, and he came to see Srila Prabhupada. He was seeing Prabhupada before also. And then someone was interviewing, and he said, I'm not afraid to stand up and be counted amidst them anymore. And, now we are living in such a society where we may be witnessing how the purity and the naturalness, so to speak, of Krishna consciousness is sort of being covered. We want to hide our philosophy, under yoga classes and so many things like that. It's very different for us who would design and see posters saying, come to the festival because all your questions on self-realization, karma, reincarnation, will be all answered. Seekers of the truth, will welcome, different things like that. Catchy slogans used to be on the posters. No hiding anything. The posters that advertise Srila Prabhupada's programs also were very, very, sort of, how you say, what's the word? They were very forthright. They weren't hiding Krishna consciousness. The importance of wearing tulsi neck beads. Nandakumar Das, Craig Joseph. So this is a Nandakumar Prabhu from America. And he was Srila Prabhupada's servant. So he says, when I was Srila Prabhupada's servant in Los Angeles in 1970, my neck beads broke one day and I set them aside to restring them later in the day. I went into Srila Prabhupada's room and he immediately said, where are your neck beads? I told him they had broken and I was going to fix them later in the day. He said very strongly, you must go now and fix them. If you knew how dangerous, they say when someone sneezes, it's right, eh? If you knew how dangerous it is to be in this material world without neck beads on, you would be shaking in your boots. So that's how it, neck beads play such a crucial role that Nanda Kumar Prabhu was very busy as Prabhupada's servant. He was cooking, doing the massage. He was doing a whole lot of services if you listen to him speak in that year, 1970. And Prabhupada told him, go now and get your neck beads sorted out, put it on. I find it very interesting how in the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya that we are following, the neck beads is 3 times around. And I was wondering, because sometimes initially I used to get quite irritated because the beads go untidy around the neck, So, from my human conditioning, I would get irritated by it. So then I was thinking about it, and I came to the realization that the reason why it's 3 times around the neck is for security reasons. Because I've had it happen that sometimes it breaks, right? So when it breaks, at least 2 other rows are still holding it together. Isn't that nice? We're quite safe if we do things like that. So then, about neck beads, sometimes on our first visits to Loy Bazaar in Vrindavan, you go and you shop for devotional paraphernalia like you're not able to do in any other part of the world, and you may buy the fanciest of neck beads, like you get those ones shaped in a leaf and it's got Sri Radhe or something written on it, and then you buy that nice t-shirt, I lost my heart in Vrindavan or something like that. Then how you wear the neck beads? Outside of the t-shirt. Now the beads have to touch the skin, not that others should see the neck beads. Others should see the tilak, but the beads should be touching the skin. It's not that you wear it like you wear a regular necklace over your attire. That's one point. The benefits of wearing kuntimala. Now, any other type of jewelry, it can be gold, platinum, diamonds, or whatever. They are actually no way near. They can do nothing for you as what neck beads can. So sometimes women folk especially are faced with a dilemma when they dress up for an occasion and they feel shy to have these wooden beads visible. So I sometimes see pictures of devotees on social media and they will remove the neck beads because they're wearing a fancy outfit. This is so dangerous if you understand this philosophy that Prabhupada just enlightened us with. It is better to wear the neck beads as normal and find the type of jewelry that can go over it. You get those choker necklaces or whatever. So you can cover both things easily, but don't ever part with your beads. Yes.
Sometimes you see people wearing
On the hands.
on the hands and the ankles.
Shouldn't wear on the ankles. All auspicious things should be from waist up. Auspicious things are never waist down. Even when one holds the Bhagavatam, not on the lap, but you see there's a stand, like that. When one wears Harinam Chada, it's always meant to be above the waist, anything auspicious above the waist. So there's a story of a man who actually saw the Yamadutas come and save a sinful person who was driving a bullock cart, but who at the time was charged by the buffalo, and his hand fell on the tulsi tree. So as a Muslim witness, he went to the nearest temple and he bought kuntimala and wound it around his wrist, because the Yamadut, he had the piety of speaking to the Yamadutas. And he saw the Vishnu Dutas take him rather than the Yamadutas. And he asked the reason, and they told him because he died with his hand touching the tulsi tree that was nearby on the pathway. Hence, as Yamadutas, they had no jurisdiction over him. Thereby, the Muslim went and armed his wrist with tulsi mala. But as followers in the Vaishnava Sampradaya, we do things as the Acharya taught us. Acharya means one who teaches by example. So Prabhupada never wore it on his wrist. unless there's a very, very good reason, maybe they get rash on the neck or something to that effect, or if the child is young or has some Down syndrome or something and is chewing the beads, then maybe someone will come up with a bracelet for the person like that. So what does the Tulsi neck beads do? It destroys great sins. These are all the scriptures mentioned there, Hari Bhakti Vilas, etc. HBV means Hari Bhakti Vilas also. It destroys the greatest sins. So there's no sin that the beads can't erase. Sri Hari is always with you because Tulsi is his great devotee. Million times benefit from punya karmas, pitri or devata pujas. So instead of performing so many lifetimes of all of these pujas, simply by wearing the Tulsi Mala, one actually becomes dear to Hari. Yamaraj stays far away. He may come to hear Hari Katha from you, but otherwise he'll stay far away. He gives full protection. It gives full protection from bad dreams, accidents, attacked by weapons, and the Yamadutas. So one should have faith that Tulsi Mala will give one full protection. Now, it's not that you won't have bad dreams, you may not imagine a ghost, etc., like that. But you should, on the other hand, understand with intelligence, even though those things may come due to my past conditioning, my own weaknesses, still I have the protection of something superior. Did I tell you I'm psychic? Just a joke. Just a joke. The next slide here explains the whole thing. Who can wear neck beads? In the Vishnu Dhamhotara, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, without a doubt, anyone who wears Tulsi neck beads, even if she or he is unclean or of bad character, will surely attain me. And there's the Sanskrit there. So I didn't make it up because I can't compose a Sanskrit line like that, right? So anyone, even if they're of bad character, means even if they're not following principles of religion, if they wear the neck beads, they still get purified.
Someone says, wearing tulsi and committing sinful activities, and it's enhanced.
The sin is enhanced. You should feel guilty. You don't want to take Tulsi Devi into dirty places because you're in knowledge already. But you shouldn't give it up because it's that much dangerous. Even though I'm an ocean of faults and I have my weaknesses, etc., Tulsi Devi, I'm dependent on your protection. So stick with it. That's what this verse is saying. In addition, an ISKCON publication titled Vaishnava Etiquette quoting Hari Bhakti Vilas states, the Padma Purana states, regardless of whether one is impure or pure, in an impure or pure state, one should always wear Tulsi Mala. And one should never take it off even when bathing, eating, or passing stool and urine. In other words, Tulsi beads are always pure and purify anyone who contacts them. Not psychic, it just was it was planned like that. Okay, so those questions are answered. Anything else? My teacher told me, one of my teachers told me, you might as well be stupid for a few minutes and ask the question, then remain stupid.
So, the japa beads and Tulsi,
Mm-hmm.
it says that take Tulsi to the way to pass through the way.
Why not the Japa Mala?
Yeah.
The Japa Mala is a unique situation because your question is not very intelligent, actually. Is unique. Why? Because it's made up of 108 beads, each one representing the 108 gopis. So it's not just a Kunti Mala, a Tulsi Mala, right? It is your Japa Mala. So the happiness derived from the Ras Leela, can be derived from associating with this 108 beads in vibrating the Yuga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name. Now we may be chanting in Namabas with offense, and maybe we're not rolling on, and obviously we're not rolling on the floor in ecstasy at the utterance of the name, etc. We're striving, right? So, out of respect for those beads, can you see how they're distinguished? So, because they are representing these 108 gopis, 108 Puranas, etc. Anyone else has thoughts on that? Yes, Prabhu. Okay.
Where does the temple Sandeep?
I used to do mass shopping for many years for the Yatra, for the Ratha Yatra festivals and the well-stocked gift shop. And the devotees in South Africa would stipulate that must buy nim beads. There was a demand. One of the leading shopkeepers in Loy Bazaar, Vrindavan, told me, only you South Africans ask for nim beads. So he said, but to facilitate the demand, we've got nim beads and rosewood beads. You can take it. Because of not being informed of like these verses, there was a common notion that non-devotees should not wear tulsi beads. So, yeah. I mean, when I was given the service of gift shop, I was told in the initial days not to sell tulsi beads to non-devotees. But, the person who told me that obviously hadn't grasped this part of the nectar of this part of Hari Bhakti Vilas and the stipulation like this, that anyone can wear it. So the essential function of sadhana bhakti, we've been learning about sadhana bhakti so much. So the essential function of sadhana bhakti is remembrance of Krishna by engaging the mind and senses in his service. Worship of the deity is an excellent way to achieve this. This chapter lists some of the many ways that deity worship can engage the senses in the Lord's service. So Prabhupada, he opened many temples. It was predicted that Srila Prabhupada would open 108 temples upon his birth when they did his charts. And he did that before he left this planet. And then his followers up to today have about maybe 600 or more centers all over the world. And what to speak of other branches of our same Chaitanya tree, right? The other disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, all the Vaishnavas, they've all opened up temples all over. So now, what is this thing about opening up all these temples and engaging in deity worship, etc., when the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan, you may ask, right? So the thing is that this Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada is saying that this actually is the part of sadhana bhakti that helps us to always remember Krishna and never forget him. So what are some of the activities that the deity worship enables us to engage in that helps us increase our piety, reduce our mountain of sins? Accepting flower garlands, dancing before the deity, bowing down in honor of the deity, standing up to receive the Lord, following the deity, going to the temple, circumambulating the temple, rendering service to the Lord, partaking of prasadam, drinking charnamrita, smelling the incense and flowers offered to the deity, touching the deity, seeing the deity, observing the arati. So many things are made possible by deity worship. So Prabhupada used to stress in so many letters to Shilavati and so many of the early pujaris about how the standard of deity worship should not be minimized, because he wanted it to exist in its full glory as he had taught us, so that we'd be able to give this opportunity for others to raise their consciousness, raise their existence by engaging them in all of these things. And then there's in the Prabhupada memories, there's this disciple of Srila Prabhupada, Revati Nandan Swami, he was known as. So he said one time, he asked Srila Prabhupada, because they were all doing the bus parties, Sankirtan teams, going on buses, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books and doing street Sankirtan, etc. And then there were others who were very overly concerned about maintaining the temple worship. And he asked Prabhupada which one is greater. And Prabhupada told him that one is known as Bhagavad Vidi and the other one? Pancharatna. Pancharatrika Vidi is deity worship, and Bhagavad Vidi is the distribution of the books and studying of the books, etc. So Prabhupada said the Bhagavad Vidi, but we don't preach this publicly. So even though all of these things are there, the temple is meant, the arati is meant how? For what reason? To spread the mercy. Whoever comes, we were trained by the GBC that I worked under was His Holiness Giriraj Swami. And he used to train us that it's not enough to be a pujari and then go to your room with Mahaprasadam, but you should make yourself available to preach to the guests and serve Charnamrita to the guests. That is a real worship, because you're serving the servant of the servant of the servant. So all of these subject matters are reiterated in the rest of this chapter that we have also done in the previous class. So also explained in this chapter is Sankirtan. First evidence, Vishnu Dharma, refers to Nam Sankirtan. The next evidence to Srimad Bhagavatam, and then to Leela Sankirtan. The last evidence refers to Guna Sankirtan. So there's different types of Sankirtan. What is Sankirtan? Sankirtan means glorification of the holy name. So when you have Nam Sankirtan is chanting the holy name loudly, spreading the holy name in Harinam, etc. Today is the 5th of July. 4th of July was an American holiday. And in Prabhupada's time, 4th of July was also a holiday. So on 4th of July, they burst a lot of fireworks. So when Prabhupada was in America, the devotees told him, this is a celebration, huge celebration, all of America attends, and they burst fireworks. So Prabhupada said, okay, let's go. So all the Sankirtan devotees got into their bus, and they started having kirtan in the bus, all the windows down, obviously. And Prabhupada and the devotees went to this parade because Prabhupada said, okay, let's go see the fireworks. Prabhupada went there, and after like about the second firework went off, Prabhupada said, okay, now we can go back, right? And he said, there were thousands of people all over, that had gathered to watch the firework display. And Srila Prabhupada said, the most auspicious thing, the most enlivening thing in this today was the devotees going in this open-top bus and with their windows down, chanting the holy names. The holy names reached so many thousands of people. So Nam Sankirtan has that effect. The next evidence in the Nectar of Devotion is to Leela Sankirtan. So talking about the Leela of the Lord. When Krishna left the Rasa Leela and the gopis were in separation from Krishna, how did they appease themselves? They appeased themselves by remembering the pastimes of Krishna and reenacting it. So they would pretend to be Krishna in different cases, and the other ones would pretend to be everybody else. And that was Leela Sankirtan, hearing the Leelas of the Lord. Mother Yasoda was very expert in composing a new song every day about the Leela of Krishna from the previous day. And she would sing it from the morning, and all the other accompanying gopis, assisting gopis, would then echo the same sentiments of Krishna's activities. So in the picture at the beginning of the slide, you would recall where alongside Jai Radha Madhava, there was this picture of Krishna getting dressed. And everybody was trying to help him. People was, giving garlands. Someone's holding his peacock feathers. Someone's holding a mirror. Someone's holding the jewelry. Vishal is there with his ankle bells, etc., etc. So it's a big thing. Everything Krishna does is a big thing. And when Krishna was crawling and eating dirt, then there was a huge sort of Easter ghosty about this. That Balaram was saying, Krishna, you came down. Why paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam? You came to save Mother Earth from the burden when she came to the milk ocean crying, and appealed to Lord Brahma to ask you to come down. So you're so small, even though you made that promise. This is not how you reduce the burden of earth, by eating it, Krishna. We're going to do that just now. So don't eat dirt. So there's so many things that's so relishable about Krishna Leela, that Leela Sankirtan, Hari Katha, is such an important thing. So if ever you organize a festival, don't only do Nam Sankirtan, have a tent for Leela Katha also, right? So then you'll have Nam Sankirtan in your festival, you'll have Leela Sankirtan, and what's Guna Sankirtan? Is discussing the qualities of Krishna. Krishna's magnanimity, Krishna's compassion, Krishna, how expert Krishna is, and that he saved Kubja. So many different things can be discussed. So Sankirtan is this glorification of Hari in these various ways. Submission. Submission is a personal prayer that expresses one's own sentiments to Krishna. This is different from the next item, in which one recites notable prayers from Shastra. One can express himself to the Lord in three ways. So you may think, I would love to compose a prayer to Krishna. I would love to have a journal where I can write my personal notes to Krishna. How shall I do this? What is the correct way of offering my sentiments to Krishna with respect? So it's all given here. Samprathanatmika, expressing one's heartfelt desire for spontaneous devotional service. So if you go to the Nectar of Devotion and you read the evidence given over there, you'll see that actually it's expressing one's heartfelt desire for spontaneous devotional service. Then Danya Vodika, expressing one's insignificance before the deity. My Lord, you will find no one more fallen than I. You have come into this world. Why? To rescue the most fallen. Please do not look further than me, because I am the most fallen. I hereby submit before you for your mercy. Please do not deny me of your sidelong glance. Something like that, right? Lalashamai, expressing one's desire for a specific spiritual perfection. This is an advanced spiritual practice that involves some realization of one's eternal relationship with the Lord. So on the more advanced levels, one would have realized one's eternal seva to Krishna by dint of the mercy of a Ragatmika Bhakta, etc. And then one would be able to offer a prayer more narrowed down, right? Like you find Raghunath Das Goswami in his prayer, he's praying in the mood of a gopi, that with his long hair, he will wipe the toilet seat of Srimati Radharani, and because he knows his service to Srimati Radharani is of such an intimate level as a manjari, right? In other words, one should learn how to cry for the Lord. One should learn the small technique. And he should be very eager and actually cry to become engaged in some particular type of service. This is called lolium, and such tears are the price for the highest perfection. So one should actually feel with genuine understanding that there is nothing left in this world for me to enjoy but my connecting with that source of divine happiness, Krishna. And with greed, one should proceed further. If one develops this lolium or greed, or excessive eagerness for meeting and serving the Lord in a particular way, that is the price to enter into the kingdom of God. So it's not that you're holding on with one hand to the material world and you're reaching to the spiritual world. No, with two hands, the example of Draupadi. Otherwise, There is no material calculation for the value of the ticket by which one can enter the kingdom of God. The only price for such entrance is lowliam, lalashamai, or the desire for great eagerness. It's explained. If Krishna Bhakti is being sold in the marketplace, one should not hesitate to pay the highest price asked for, because nothing else is worth spending on. And then we come quickly to chapter 10, techniques of hearing and remembering. This chapter describes 4 devotional principles: hearing, expecting the Lord's mercy, remembering, and meditation. Srila Rupa Goswami extensively discussed hearing and meditation. Right? So this is what happens in chapter 10. That's just a summary of what we're going to encounter in this very short, very important chapter. Techniques of hearing and remembering. Hearing, Shravana. There's basically 3 ways to perform hearing. Nam Shravana, hearing the name. Charita Shravana, hearing about the pastimes. And Gunadi Shravana, hearing about the qualities of Krishna. So we encountered that just now also, right? In the end of the previous session. Hearing the name, Tat Shrinu, Krishna says to Arjuna, just hear from me. Simply by hearing this holy name, like Prabhupada says about hearing the songs of the previous acharyas, you know, the songbook sold in the temple, our temple's gift shop all over. If you simply, or if you go to kkssongs.com or org or something, you would find all of these songs by the different acharyas and their English meaning. And Prabhupada said about hearing these songs, he said, even if you do not know the meaning, it acts like lightning. Once it strikes, it strikes. Once you're stricken by these songs, it has a lasting effect on the Atma. So hearing the name is like that. When a person is asleep, Prabhupada gave the example, what wakes him up? Not the smelly toes of the thief, but the sound the thief makes, the noise. That's why we have alarm clocks to wake us up, right? Because sound vibration would wake up a sleeping person. Then we have the example of if a person is bitten by a snake and in a poisoned condition, what wakes the person up extracting the poison? Mantra. So the power of mantra is so vast that it can waken a person that's sleeping for thousands and thousands of lifetimes. The holy name can awaken such a soul. So thereby, one should not hesitate to broadcast the holy name. And devotees are so expert. They have these stickers, Gauranga stickers. And then, you know, Puri Maharaj, when he established the Scotland temple, he had a craze about making everyone chant Gauranga. I remember when I joined the temple in the 1980s, then the devotees had these stickers and they would sell them. You'd see them at the back of every car, on almost every house door. There were these reflective stickers, Hare Krishna stickers. Some of you remember it, right? Very attractive stickers. I don't know why it's stopped being made, but there was Hare Krishna everywhere. So, you know, nowadays people may do number plates, so many things. You sneeze, you say, Achyuta, in the office, right? Achyuta is the name of Krishna, right? So there's different ways like that. You have to trick people into hearing the name. Like we used to have this thing that on a festival day, when we coming to the temple for Mangal Arati, then when Prabhu goes to the filling station to fill fuel into the vehicle, we had this thing that we would greet the attendants, the fuel attendants, and ask them, oh, you know, they have a name tag with their name. Oh, your name's John. My name's Nita, if it's Nita's appearance day, or my name's Gaura. If someone came to sell perfumes, he would ask them, you have that Gauranga brand? You know, it's pretty famous with a straight face. It was like, Gauranga, what? So you have to trick people into saying the holy name. Charita Shravana, hearing about the pastimes. So if you hear about the pastimes of the Lord, it is so attractive. I mean, one thing we're really lacking in locally is the Harikatha of Krishna Leela. This should be arranged. I got booked to give the Govardhan Puja and Radha Astami class, so I'm busy stocking up on my things that I'm going to use in those classes. And it is so relishable, that so much Harikatha can be disclosed, just on the festival days. uh, we would always have a few days, build up to a festival of Harikatha. So if it's someone like Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, how much can be said about Lord Chaitanya? Today, in the course that I'm doing, we just completed the Madhya Leela, a synopsis of the Madhya Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the pastimes are so relishable, and there's so much to learn in every little thing. Like, for example, Ishan, who was Lord Chaitanya's servant, when he had the gold coin, and Lord Chaitanya didn't want him to carry any gold on that trip when he was making that excursion, parikram through South India. And that then a psychic person knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has gold coins, so he must be robbed, right? So then he said, no, we don't have any gold coins, but Ishan had the gold coin. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made Ishan go home with that gold coin. So he lost the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just because he didn't obey Lord Chaitanya. So there's oceans of pastimes with so many lovely lessons in each one of them. So for every festival, there should be like a builder. This week, Tuesday, was Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's disappearance day and Gadadhar Pandit's. And there's so many things about how Gadadhar Pandit, came, was Radharani, came and he used to recite the Bhagavatam, and Lord Chaitanya used to go and hear repeatedly the pastimes of Dhruva and Prahlad from Gadadhar Pandit. And when he finished, he says again. And Gadadhar Pandit would cry tears of ecstasy reciting this to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself would tear in ecstasy. And by the time Srinivas Acharya came to get that Bhagavatam was wet with tears. Handwritten Bhagavatam was washed with tears. So you can imagine how ecstatic hearing the pastimes of the Lord, can put you into such great ecstasy. Gunadi Shravana, hearing about the qualities of Krishna. So when you become attracted to a person, even if you didn't meet them, if you hear about their qualities, like Usha heard about Aniruddha, right? And she wanted to marry him. Rukmini heard about Krishna, wanted to marry him. Just by hearing about him, how much will our hearts melt if we simply hear about these lovely pastimes of Krishna? Like, when Krishna was small and he would crawl and he's, go tap, tap, tap on the earth, right? That was considered, some of our acharyas explained, there are like 27 commentators on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and one commentator from the Vallabha Sampradaya, he mentions that when Krishna was doing that, Krishna and Balaram were crawling on Mother Earth, on Bhumi Devi's surface, that was their massaging her overburdened body. Like so many things. You can look in with X-ray vision deeper and deeper into these pastimes. So it can be churned, so much churned deeper and deeper, more nectar can come out. The first reference, Garuda Purana, deals with hearing the Lord's name. The second deals with hearing the Lord's pastime, and then the 12th canto deals with hearing his glorification and transcendental qualities. So the pramanam, or the evidences, are given here in page 89 to 90 of the Nectar of Devotion, that emphasizes these bullet points that I gave. Expecting the Lord's mercy, tat kripekshanam. Much of our life in this world is spent suffering the results of sinful reaction. Devotional service is so practical. It can transform this into an opportunity for sadhana bhakti. It requires only the right attitude. You hear motivational speakers saying, Everything's in your attitude. It's not how you say about attitude and altitude.
Attitude gains attitude.
Attitude gains altitude. Where it's all coming from? Vedanta means the end of all knowledge. They borrowed it from our Vedas. It's the root of everything motivational you can ever look for, right? So there's suffering, and this suffering can be, all your stumbling blocks can be turned into stepping stones, right? You hear that time and time again from all these motivational speakers. It's given right in our own scriptures. Srila Rupa Goswami quotes Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-8 to show that there are two ways to practice Krishna consciousness in adverse situations. One is when there's adversity, you accept the reactions as the Lord's mercy. That, my Lord, whatever suffering I'm going through, thank you very much for reducing my mountains of sins into just a moleheap. Right? One has to understand this. That devotional service, what does it do? It can eradicate sinful reactions. So the little bit of sin that we are suffering for, the bigger picture is that Krishna has given us a vast reduction. It's like buying a box of, jigsaw puzzles. They come in boxes. In those days before iPads and everything happened, there were jigsaw puzzles, right? So jigsaw puzzle, if you take one piece and you try to understand the entire picture, it's very difficult. So we're trying to understand our existence by that one piece of the jigsaw puzzle, looking at our life with limited understanding. Krishna is the one who knows the entire puzzle. He knows how the pieces fit together, what purification needs to happen according to which desire, etc., etc., etc. Therefore, Rishikesh, my life is in your hands. Please take care. I'm failing badly for lifetimes after lifetimes, making a mess of things. I surrender unto you would be the most appropriate thing that would behoove an intelligent person. Then, secondly, repeatedly offering obeisances within one's mind. My dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is certainly eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. Mukti Pade Sedaya Bak is the Sanskrit of this verse, right? You become the rightful inheritor of the kingdom of your father. Just like a rich man's son can be a rascal, but if he simply remains connected to the father, he will become the rightful heir just by breathing and staying alive. Isn't that so? Right? So Mukti Pade Sadaya Bak means we simply go on accepting that whatever suffering is, the sinful reactions that we have accumulated, that has been minimized. My Lord, now, I surrender unto you, and you become the rightful heir of the kingdom of God. And Prabhupada explains this. He says, Arjuna, by his love towards Krishna, purchased Krishna so amazingly that Krishna becomes his driver. He says Nanda Maharaj purchased Krishna with his love, that Krishna carried his sandals on his head. Right? Normally sandals are considered dirty, you don't want to touch it, etc. Krishna picked that devotee's sandals and put it on his head. He's the supreme fountainhead, the supreme personality of Godhead. There's Godhead, and he's the supreme person. So he puts it on his head. So you can see how amazing this whole path is, that it could lead to purchasing Krishna in such a amazing way. These two items are similar: remembrance and meditation, smriti and dhyanam. These two items are similar. Remembrance means to think of Krishna in a general way, and meditation involves deeper contemplation, which Srila Rupa Goswami has divided into 4 types. So meditation is rupa dhyanam, guna dhyanam, krida dhyanam, seva dhyanam. Meditation on Krishna's form, meditation on Krishna's qualities is activities and on devotional service to Krishna. And in the last one, meditation on serving Krishna. You may not have the facility to serve Krishna, but he gives in his evidence the story of the man who cooked the sweet rice in meditation. And he cooked this entire pot of sweet rice in a golden pot, and he was, he's meditating, so facility is not limited because the mind is so can extend so vastly. So in his meditation, sweet rice is a preparation that is not served hot, maybe from Durban. The sweet rice is hot on the banana leaf, right? It leaves that mark there. But normally, sweet rice is cooled down and then it's served, right? It's drinkable sort of thing. So he cooked the sweet rice and he touched with his finger to see if it was cool enough to offer to Krishna, and he got burnt. So you may say, but there was no sweet rice. He was imagining the entire thing. He was doing the service in his meditation, but the power of his meditation burnt his finger. And the picture is there in the Nectar of Devotion. You can see it, right? I should have put it on, but you're going to have a look at this. So if you see the power of even thinking of serving Krishna, are you limited? You can build a temple for Krishna that, is very magnanimous. You can make a farm for Krishna. You can do so many things. If you simply meditate on serving Krishna in all of these things, you are getting the benefit. So, when I say a farm for Krishna, and I'm sitting here in Johannesburg in South Africa, and there's all these farm murders and reclaiming of land, you may think, is she gone nuts, right? There's ways to do it. There's urban farming, right? People buy properties, 2 houses, and they put up a hydroponic plant, and they plant vegetables. That's like Woolworth's quality vegetables, right? There's so many different ways. When we were studying permaculture, etc., you can do things in the urban surrounding, fulfilling that need, because society may not allow us to have a farm in South Africa in this day and age for now. So meditation on Krishna's form, if you think about, you start your meditation from Krishna's lotus feet, and his fingernails are described by the acharyas as being so effulgent, and the dust around the heel of his feet is a saffron dust. And then, you go up about, Vishal, he puts the anklet on Krishna's feet, Krishna's ankles every morning. And then you see, and then, you're going further up, and, Krishna's dhoti is covering, his knees, etc. And his sash is of a certain color, and there's that belt of bells that Mother Yasoda ties around his waist. There's so many meditations like that on Krishna's form, and then you can go further and about how Krishna sends messages to the gopis by putting either a blue lotus behind his left ear or a pink lotus behind his right ear to send a certain message to say, we'll meet at the Yamuna at such and such place at a certain time. Everything's coded with Krishna, done with intention. So many things. You can read the books of Srila Prabhupada, the Nectar of Devotion, and after you finish all of that, you read the books of the previous acharyas, and this meditation on Krishna's form, just the arti itself. The arti is done by who? In Krishna Leela, the arti is done by Lalita Saki, right? So Lalita Saki's service is she performs the arti after Radha and Krishna wake up after the rest, etc. And what is being offered by the other gopis, the ghee lamp is offered. Why? Because it's a little dark at that time, and it's offering light, and there's different reasons why the water, the handkerchief is being offered. So if we put a full stop on our consciousness to just standing over there and saying, oh, he's doing the arti, he's from Lens, the Lens boy, I know him, so so you just look, your benefit for the arti is just so is being so limited, but there's actually deeper levels to go to. Meditation on Krishna's qualities, right? Like we'd said before, uh, you can get attracted to a person by hearing the qualities. So when you hear about the qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, first of all, when he was going through the forest, he was able to effect change in tigers and lions, etc. Why? Because he had this quality of prema, in his heart, that his love was overflowing from his persona, that everything was just being attracted to him. Then meditation on Krishna's activities, what does Krishna do? And then, if we go back to that first slide where Krishna and Balaram are sitting, where the Hare Krishna mantra was side by side, that picture that we did at the beginning of this class, what was Krishna doing there? He was eating something like sweet rice or yogurt. His cup was made of leaves, right? Balaram had a leaf in his hand, and then Krishna had a leaf in his hand, and then they were enjoying this preparation. So, Krishna's activities, he would kill a demon, and then they would have lunch together, and everyone's was wondering, will tell Krishna, in my tiffin box, this is most delicious. My mom made this preparation. You've got to taste it. And Krishna was spoiled for choice because, but obviously it's unlimited, so he could satisfy everybody. Now imagine this sweet that Srimati Radharani is feeding Krishna. That must be the supreme sweet. Looks like either rasagula or a laddu or something like that in this picture. So the qualities and pastimes of Radha and Krishna and of the cowherd boys, they have unlimited as, things to think about. You can focus your mind on so many things. Okay, this cowherd boy, he's got the chada ready for Krishna. Yes, a gopi here with the pearls, somebody else with the garlands. Everything Krishna does is so eventful that the other Vrajvasis are peeping through the windows because they can't contain the separation from Krishna, that is taking too long to come out and play with us, etc. And this other devotee, this other boy here, he's showing Krishna the mirror even from the back, because why? Krishna's back and front is equally beautiful. So different things like that are happening. So Krishna's pastimes, his qualities, such a meditation. If one absorbs oneself like this in these pictures, windows to the spiritual world, etc., I can't remember where it was, but I heard that, I read or heard somewhere that Srila Prabhupada was walking and there was a picture of the cows and Krishna, Gopal Krishna. And the one cow had tears coming down her eyes, even though she was in the presence of Krishna. And I think Prabhupada asked the devotees, why is this so? And then Prabhupada gave the answer. She is in ecstasy, and those tears are tears of ecstasy because the calf that Krishna is caressing is her baby. So there's so many things like that can be churned out of, all of these beautiful windows to the spiritual world, the qualities and pastimes of Krishna. And thereby, it makes for the perfect meditation on devotional service. I want to be that person who will help Vishal choose the anklets for Krishna. Add a few bells here so that if he's stealing, he can be traced, etc. He can't hide from us. Different things like that. So you want to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. So thereby you can meditate on such service to Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. And that brings us to the conclusion of chapters 9 and 10 of this glorious work of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada. Shri Nectar of Devotion Ki Jai. Bhakti Rasam Rita Sindhu Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. So are there any questions, corrections, comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Last part reminded me of jump up.
Yes?
And when you're chanting, we should focus on hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And also in Ramshan Swami says we should also meditate on the form of God.
How to correlate the both?
And how should, yeah, and Shri Prabhupada also, in those days, wanted the guys to be dressed so that we could see the ladies while we do.
Mm.
So yeah.
How to correlate the both? Whether here.
Absorb.
Very good question. So, hearing and chanting works as like a train traveling on two railway tracks. So, thereby, Prabhupada stressed the studying of his books, like the descriptions in this book, right? For example, your name is Sham Kishore Das. So, when I utter the word Sham Kishore Das here in this classroom, because you all know him, then you start to think Sham Kishore, smile, face this shape, etc. So when I say Sham Kishore, a picture naturally comes in. When I say Rupa, a picture already, I don't think of Vishen when you won't think of Vishen if I call Rupa's name, or vice versa, because I have an image of Rupa, that like a gentle person. He is very respectful to all the devotees. Or if I say Shama Kund, then the name and the qualities come automatically because there's a relationship with that person. So when we hear about Krishna, we study the books, that as Prabhupada recommended, different imprints are there naturally. So when we say Hare Krishna, who are you thinking? Automatically, it's which Krishna are you calling? You're calling not Dwarkadish Krishna, you're calling Vrindavan Krishna, perhaps, or whichever your choice is, like that. So it's not something that is that we have to sort of architect. It comes naturally as we progress. In the beginning, we concentrate on hearing and chanting. Then Nam Rup Leela becomes naturally revealed as one's chanting becomes of a higher quality. The Nam can give us everything. Nam will give us Guna, Rupa, everything.
And you start meditating on pastime of Krishna. And the holy, I could be wrong, the holy name is sort of background. Should one stop thinking of the pastime and bring oneself back to the holy name?
To the holy name. Okay. It should come to a stage where the holy name and it's natural. It's not that you artificially start thinking of a pastime. It's like when I say Sham Kishore, I don't have to artificially think, is he thin and tall, like as tall as Sanjay? I already have a picture of you, already know his qualities, his character to some extent, right? So automatically it's coming. So we have to thereby fill ourselves with descriptions and pastimes and everything of Krishna. And then when we chant the name will naturally give birth to this in our consciousness.
Just for my clarity, same question. So you're chanting, you're thinking of the name, and your mind drifts to a pastime.
Yeah.
You must force your mind back to the name, not continue with the pastime.
If you can do both nicely, then you're getting some special mercy, right? But otherwise, let's ask the Japa teacher to comment.
So before one can jump, high jumps, run, sprint, one should learn to walk. And the walking is hearing. So we want to hear attentively.
Loudly.
We want to hear attentively. That's most important. And we need to practice. We need to practice or perfect the art of hearing. Very often we would, practice Krishna consciousness and assume that I can hear and therefore I can meditate. And Prabhupada says it's not wrong. Okay, it's not wrong if I'm doing devotional service, I think of devotional service. I heard the pastime comes to my mind. So it's not wrong. But Prabhupada said it's better to hear. Okay, And the reason is, and we went through Nectar devotion. Pure Krishna bhakti cannot be achieved by your meditation, by your endeavor. It descends. By your expertise, you cannot achieve. By the mercy of the holy name, you achieve it. Now, the holy name is descending, and for you to respect the holy name, what do? You receive the holy name because it's sound through your ears. Just like if, in one japa program, I got Mahaprasad from Shishinitai Gauri. We offered the pecan nuts. Then I gave one pecan nut to every devotee, right? And I say, now you just look at the pecan nut. It's Mahaprasad, eaten by Shishinitai Gauri, and just respect it by looking at it. You think they will be happy like that? Nope. How do they want to respect the Mahaprasad? They want to eat it, right? So how do we respect the holy name? By hearing it, because it's sound.
Transcendental multitasking, like hearing and.
Okay, so here's the thing. The mind can only do one thing at a time. So what happens is, if you do computer science, okay, because the computer can do two things sequentially but so fast, it looks like it's doing two things at the same time. But it's taking nanosecond for one thing and nanosecond for the other thing. It seems like it's doing one thing, or it's doing two things at one time, but it's actually it's splitting. It's not, so the mind also cannot think of two things at the same time. But because it's so fast, you thinking, I can actually chant, I can hear the holy name and see Krishna. No, you can only do one thing at a time. So technically, when you think of Krishna, you're not hearing.
Yes.
And when you're hearing, if you do it yourself, you basically inattentive. Like sometimes devotees do japa and they hear Bhagavatam.
And sometimes the to-do list also.
Yeah, so many things, right? So therefore, the first thing that we want to do is become expert at only hearing. Yeah, just receive the holy name, and by receiving the holy name, let the holy name purify us and reveal revelation. Let the holy name decide when we're ready for him to reveal to us. And when that happens, now you'll find that's natural.
There's different levels
Yeah.
of, calling the name of one's beloved has a certain emotion attached to it. So the more we love Krishna and Radharani, then, we'd call upon the names with respect and greater attention, because they mean so much to us. You have an understanding now that it's not just syllables from the page that I had to learn the mantra from, but it means something beyond that to me, that I must give attention to this. And then like that, the sentiment awakens on a deeper and deeper level. So Nam will give you the qualities. Nam will give you, the pastimes.
There's many statements Prabhupada said, you chant Hare Krishna, you remember all these things. So then when you start loving Krishna, your heart, because the holy name will reveal Krishna's form. You can imagine when the holy name reveals Krishna's form, that form is not going to be constant. You will be thinking of that 24 hours a day. And when the qualities come, you will be thinking of the qualities. Pastimes come, you will think of pastimes. By then, the holy name is it's like resonating. You've already perfected the art of receiving the holy name with love, with attention. So that's so it's not wrong, but also it's better. And that's even in kirtan. In kirtan is even more difficult, because in kirtan we have the distraction of instruments, of devotees, of dancing. So to practice hearing, even though it's more enjoyable, to practice hearing becomes more difficult. Therefore, japa is a very good test.
When Prabhupada says, watching the deity while you're doing japa, like in a similar way, like the mind can't multitask. watching Deity or here.
Correct. So these things are what we call crutches. When I break my leg, let's say I meet in an accident and I fracture my leg. Now I cannot stand on the leg. So what I do? I use crutches. But I only use the crutches, once my leg is strong and I can walk on it, then I let go the crutches. So the deity form, the pictures, the mantra, it's called Nam Trataka. If your mind is racing away, you can, acharyas say you can read the mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's called Nam Trataka. It rests the mind, it brings the mind back. So the mind falls away, see the deity, beautiful deity form of the Lord, brings the mind back to hearing. And when the mind stops running away, now you're progressing. Now the mind becomes absorbed in hearing. You're progressing. Now the mind can capture the holy name. You're advancing. Now your heart becomes active. You want to chant. You are progressing. Now you love to chant. Now you can't put your beat back down. You don't want to go to job. You don't want to go to work. Now you're advancing. It's not enough. Yeah. Now you say, 16 ounces. Thank God. You can go to work. That's not that means you're just finishing. Yeah. When you don't finish, you don't want to finish, you just, you want to chant. Now you're progressing.
So just one other thing. If we go back to, in conclusion, I think there's a part 2 of conclusion because we already concluded. In the beginning of this class, Prabhupada started the chapter of 9 with the blasphemy of devotees. I found it to be very, very useful. Sometimes you have devotees in our society who are being used as instruments of change. So they may be banging on about some subject that, that's negative, or picking on something, and they banging on about it because they want to see change, they want to see a better movement, etc. And they want these faults to be eradicated so the movement progresses in a purer form for the next 10,000 years. It's important for us not to judge even those devotees, because maybe Krishna is using them for a purpose, to bring out some problem in the society so that it comes to the surface, it comes out in the open, and it is corrected, so the future generations inherit a legacy that is a lot stronger. So I just thought of that point, and I thought do we have any questions on that? Okay. Any last point? Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go